Club Campus 38 in Endless Blue and Nonstop Red are a couple of new additions to the Nomos catalog for 2024, and in today's video we will of course review them. Let's first talk about the case. This model comes in a 38.5mm case diameter. It's about 49mm from one lug to another. The lug opening is 20mm and they're only 8.5mm in case height. The case is made out of 316L stainless steel. It features all high polish finish. There are no satin finishes on this case, which makes it a little bit more dressy than your standard casual watch. The degree of finishing is quite high. I think this watch looks and feels more expensive than that $1,400 price tag would suggest. For $1,400 you actually get quite a bit of value, but it's $1,400 with this solid case back. It's a screw down case back helping with water resistance, 100 meters of water resistance on this watch. If you want the display case back, it's actually $250 more. It doesn't really make the case thicker, but it does bring the price up to about $1,650 US. I think at that price point, it is still quite a deal, but $250 US for a display case back just seems a little steep. I don't know what the margins of these things are, but just my personal opinion, you should always go for a display case back, especially with a movement like this one, which we'll talk about in a bit. At the 3 o'clock position, there is a crown signed with Nomos logo. This logo is a little hard to see because the crown is so shiny and reflective. Operation of the crown is super easy. I think is the right size. With thin watches like this, it's kind of hard to nail that size perfectly. A lot of times the crowns are undersized. I think for these models, they did a great job. Now this is a simple push-pull style crown. You don't really need a screw-down crown for a watch with 100 meters of water resistance, and I'm actually really glad that they didn't go with the screw-down crown because this is a manual wind watch, and in my experience having a screw-down crown on a manual wind watch just makes it a little bit more finicky operating and winding the movement every day or every other day, however you do it. The 2 dial colors that we have in front of us, the Endless Blue and the Nonstop Red, are the new releases for this year, and I think both dials look sharp and great in their own way. Initially, when I just first looked at the pictures of these watches, I thought I'd prefer the blue. I like this shade of blue. It just reminds you of summer and sort of that light breezy feeling that you get on a nice summer day. The red, on the other hand, is kind of very stark and very concentrated. It almost feels like orange/red. It actually has quite the opposite feeling to the blue. Instead of making you feel sort of light and relaxed, it kind of fires you up. It's a little bit more intense. And I actually think, surprisingly, I prefer this color shade to the blue. As I said, when I was looking at the pictures, I thought I'd prefer the blue, but in person, I actually prefer the red. However, there is one small issue that I found with this red color, and it's the fact that the sub-seconds hand is also in a very similar shade of red, which makes reading the seconds hand a little bit more tough. I wish the seconds hand on the red dial version was executed in a white color. I think that would look better. The seconds hand on the blue dial is the same red as the red dial, and I think that stark contrast actually works quite well for this watch. I also like that this model has what's called a California dial, so it has both Arabic and Roman numerals. Again, some people will like this, some people will not. I personally happen to like these type of dials. I think it just looks kind of unique, and also it gives people a second take. They sort of look at this watch and then they kind of look away and they're like, wait a minute, let me look at it again. Oh, why does it have both of these numerals? And then you kind of explain it, and it's fun, it's a conversation starter, is this whole thing. So I actually really like it. The indexes are painted on and the dial is loomed. Here's a loom shot for your reference. I think the loom is actually pretty solid. I like the fact that these watches do feature that sub-seconds hand closer to the 6 o'clock position because it's recessed into the dial, which gives this dial a little bit more depth. And I'm always surprised with how Nomos is able to achieve depth to their dials, especially in such thin profile cases. I think Nomos here teaches us a masterclass in creating watches that are simple, but not too simple to the point where they're boring. They're simple, but fun. In terms of the hardware, you can have this watch on a couple of different metal bracelets or this leather strap. I can't speak about the quality of the metal bands slash metal bracelets because I don't have them in front of me. All I have are these leather straps. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And by default, these watches come on the straps. If you want the bracelet, you do have to pay a little bit extra. In terms of the quality of these leather straps, I actually really like it. And personally, I wouldn't go for the bracelet. I think this watch belongs on a leather strap. First of all, these straps are super thick yet comfortable. They're not thick where they're not really conforming to your wrist and they create awkward angles. No, I just mean that they're thick in terms of feeling kind of good quality. Sometimes these leather straps, especially on watches that are very thin, can feel very flimsy and thin. But I think this one here is the perfect amount of thickness. Secondly, I really like the double stitching. You have the stitching on the top and at the bottom of the strap. Nomos logo stamped at the bottom, as well as made in Germany stamped on the other side. The hardware is very simple. It's a tank buckle with a Nomos logo. You have a couple of loops to hide the excess strap, and that's pretty much it. The straps are very soft. They feel of a good quality. Here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist, and I think the watch wears really well. My wrist size is probably medium to a little bit on the larger side, and I think these watches actually fit really good. When you hear 38.5 millimeters, you would assume that these watches are very tiny, but that's actually not true. On the wrist, these watches actually wear quite large because of that long lug-to-lug distance, and secondly, because there isn't too much bezel taking up real estate. This is pretty much all dial. So when you look at this watch on your wrist, it actually wears quite well. If you have a wrist of under 6.5 inches, maybe under 6 inches, I think these watches will be too big for you. So you have to actually step down to a 36 millimeter model because 38 does wear larger. In terms of the comfort on the wrist, these watches are super comfortable. You put it on and you even forget that you're wearing a watch because of that comfortable strap, plus because of the super slim profile. Under 9 millimeters, it just slips under the cuff of any shirt. And remember when I talked about the size of the crown? Again, I think Nomos did a great job with the sizing of this crown. Because the watch is so thin, sometimes crowns can dig into your wrist because they kind of stick out through the whole profile of the case. But in this model, that's not happening because of the crown's size and location on the case. They did a great job with the fit of this one. These models are powered by the Caliber Alpha movement, which is Nomos's in-house manual wind mechanism. It beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. These watches have 43 hours of power reserve and 17 joules. As I said earlier, I would go for a display case back because these movements are actually very good looking. They feature some striping, they feature blued screws, which elevates the look of this watch to a different level. So definitely go for a display case back if you are buying one of these watches. As you can probably tell from this enthusiastic review, I am a big fan of these watches. I'm a fan of Nomos as a brand, and I think they have another winner on their hands. First of all, I like the price point. $1,400 to $1,650 US is very, very reasonable for the specs that you get here. In-house caliber, the sizing, the quality, the presentation, all of that is great. And if you care about these things, I think you will really appreciate these watches. As I said, these are not for everyone. You already know whether you like it or not. And if you do like it, and if you do pick one of these up, I don't see you being disappointed. I appreciate you watching this video all the way until the end. Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about these Nomos models. Are you picking them up? Are you letting these ones go? Do you have any Nomos in your collection? I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.